Hey everybody, my name is Kamisa Riam. I am the organization director of OCOL.tv, and today I'm just going to give you a little backstory of how Inspiring African began and how it turned into OCOL.tv. And this is going to be set in a Q&A format, so some of the questions that I've acquired from the community, you will also be hearing the answers to. Inspiring Africans was, like the name suggests, was a vision that first came from the education episode, which is part of Inspiring Africans. The education episode came in mind when I was in 2013, in December 2013, because there was no platform at all where African people can actually speak with other African people who are in university or college. So I thought, hey, why not build a platform that can bridge this gap between the university and college student to the high school students and the people who are outside of high school, because most of them, they want to study like things, but they don't know what to study. So if we can bridge them together, then that will make it easier for them to be able to ask questions directly related to the people like them, and at the same time be inspired by people who come from the same kind of environment as them, and make their decisions. Okay, so the big question now, so what is OCOL.tv? OCOL.tv is an organization which wants to be or is the hub for Indigenous. So the reason why I'm saying is because Indigenous lifestyle and culture is very rarely seen or heard. So OCOL.tv is that organization which wants to bridge the gap. It still has the same kind of ideology as Inspiring Africans, but the only thing is the problem or the issue or the concern is not so much just restricted to the African community. It's bigger than that. This is why OCOL.tv came about, is to bridge the gap, not just between the African, but the other African relatives also around the world, such as in America, Barbados, Papua New Guinea, Australia, and so on. So OCOL.tv is like the hub for the whole Indigenous community to be able to share what they're studying, to be able to share their culture and lifestyle, to be able to share what they have to teach, which is all just embedded into what their culture and lifestyle is. And it's not just restricted to the past, it's not just restricted to the present, it's not just restricted to the future, but it's all combined. So the past, the present, the future, and all. So we're not just, this is not about blaming, this is one thing that I want people to understand, because as soon as you try to do something for the community, people are going to try to think you're trying to attack other group of people, you're trying to attack. This is not for that. We're not here to attack anyone. OCOL.tv is an organization which is founded on the principle that other stories needs to be heard, and this is what we are working on. So is OCOL.tv racial or political? This is just following from the last point that I mentioned. So is it political? Let's just deal with that first. Well, politics, it is basically impossible for you not to be politics and try to do something. Even if you don't try to do something, you're still making a political statement. So me saying OCOL.tv is not political, it's just a political statement in itself. So any move you make in the society is guided by political principles. So it's basically impossible for me not to say that OCOL.tv is not political, because we're trying to uplift a community which I don't know who caused it and who didn't cause it, but it's going to be a little bit political, and it's not going to be political also. And the reason I say it's not going to be political is because we're not here to try to say vote for this person or that person is a bad person, that person is a good person. We're not here for that. We just want to show stories. And I know this is a political statement. Just me speaking alone, even if I'm not trying to attack anyone, it's a political statement. So every move you make in a society is a political statement. So it's basically impossible for you not to act political, but want to be in a society that is politically run. Second question again, is it racial? no, it's not racial, and yes, it is racial. Again, like the political question we were talking about before, how is it racial? Let's first look at the word racial. What determines what racial is? Racial, usually people think racial is like black and white. People think racial is religious. People think racial is all those kind of things. And for Child.TV, like I said, is strictly for the indigenous community. I don't know if that's racial or not, but whatever it is, we're not attacking anyone, and we're not trying to forbid anyone from watching our Child.TV or not. So whether that's racial or not, I'm not sure about it, but our intention is not to attack anyone. Our intention to just show stories of other indigenous people who are trying to do the right thing. So this doesn't mean that every single indigenous person in the world is going to benefit from a Child.TV, and we're quite aware of that, and we're sure that not every single non-indigenous people is not going to benefit also. So whether this is racial or not, I'm not sure, but our intention is for it not to be racial and for it to be racial also, depending on how your perspective or the definition of what racial is. What does a child mean? Well, before we get into what a child is, first we need to understand how to pronounce it. It is pronounced O-ch-ol, so a child, because most people don't know how to pronounce it. And the name derived from the tribe called Acholi, which is in East Africa. And the word Ochol is another word for black, and another word for people of color, and another word for Negro, and another word for people, first people, and all of those. And the reason I use the word Ochol over all the other words that are listed is because most of those words seem offensive, and it doesn't represent the whole agenda or the whole people of color. Basically, it doesn't represent them in a positive manner, because most of them derive from slavery, most of them derive from colonialism, most of them derive from negative perspective of the indigenous people. So I use the word Ochol. Why? Because this was created by indigenous people and it's for indigenous people. So this is why I chose the word Ochol. So why did I choose to have the red, black, and green on the TVs, on the icon of a Child.TV? The reason being is I know most of you guys are already familiar with that. So the RBG is a symbol, which is the red, black, green. It is a symbol that was given to the people of the African continent by Marcus Garvey and the UNIA in 1920. And the reason this flag was introduced was because at that time Africa was all in, it was colonized by European and stuff like that. And there was nothing that was unifying the whole continent, because all of them were divided by different colonists and all those kind of stuff. So the RBG was a flag that was used to represent the whole African continent. And it wasn't just for the African continent, it was also used for to represent like people in America and all of those. So they were all just championing the unification of the African continent. And I believe by the creation of this flag, Africa was unified, because as soon as you have a flag and as soon as you have one spirit, basically you're already unified. So despite them being colonized at the time, they were already unified because they now have a vision of this unification. And even after colonization, there's still countries and who are still using the RBG symbols and or the Pan-African, because it goes by different names. It goes by the Marcus Garvey flag, the UNIA flag, the Pan-African flag, and so on and so on. And some of the countries that use this flag is Ghana. They're using the Black Star, which is all symbols which are created by the same person. And Kenya, they use the same kind of the RBG, and it's all just for the unification of the continent. And all of them, and if you don't know where Kenya is, the same country that Obama comes from. So they were all using that same flag that is now used as a symbol. So this symbol is to unify the African continent, but today I am understanding that it's more than just the African continent, and which is why I decided to use it for OCOL.tv because it's for unification of the indigenous community in a holistic sense. What is the purpose of OCOL.tv? The purpose of OCOL.tv is, number one, the most important thing that you need to understand about OCOL.tv is to educate. So basically all the stuff we're going to be doing in the future is all targeted in terms of education, because education is one of the most important things, and there's not a lot of people who are dedicated to the indigenous community who are educating them on things that they should be knowing, such as food, for example, such as economic, for example, many different things that we need to actually learn in the indigenous community. This is what OCOL.tv is founded on. So education, the most important thing, and obviously culture and lifestyle, because there's tribes, different dances, different languages, different lifestyle, and all of those kind of things. So these are also things that you will be seeing OCOL.tv promoting. So how can people feature and watch OCOL.tv? We actually have a watch and feature form, and the link for it will be on the description of this video, so you can definitely go there and fill it out, and then you can actually nominate people if you want to also. So the main reason of how we want OCOL.tv to run is we want it to be like a blog, basically, where indigenous people can come and share their story, and then we put it out for the whole community to be able to hear it. Is there specific stories that we want you to share? No and yes. And the reason I say no and yes is because we don't want you to come here and share stories of the colonizers did us wrong, or the slave trade is so bad. We don't want. This is not a blaming organization. We're not here to blame anyone. So this is why I'm saying, because there are people who try to blame and so on and so on. So all we want is, how can we move forward now? How can we move forward now? Because we're already unified as a whole race. Black, white, yellow, green, purple, whoever race you are, we're unified now. So right now we're trying to understand other races. How is their lifestyle structured? Which is the indigenous community? We're not here to blame anyone, because there's no need for that. We're already past that already. So we just want to understand what kind of lifestyle and what is the problem. If the other race is the problem, then give us evidence. How are they a problem? And then don't blame them, but just give evidence how you can actually evolve from what that problem is. So instead of blaming, we're not here for that. We just want you to show us a way of how we can move forward. And this is why we want to go back to the past. We want to see what kind of lifestyle was running there, so that this way we can find a way to move forward. And what kind of lifestyle is running now, because there's people right now who are making music, uplifting music. It doesn't matter if it's uplifting or not, but people are making music, people are dancing, people are doing all this stuff. So how can we use that to move forward? Because the main purpose of OCOL.tv is to move forward the indigenous community, instead of worrying too much about the problem that is caused and the problem that has been caused. So thank you very much for giving us all these questions. We really appreciate it. And I know right now there's people who know a little bit more about the organization, and at the same time, if you're still unaware of what the organization does and what it's about, you can definitely read the website, and I definitely highly recommend that you do that, because I put a lot of information there, so you can know some of the backstory of what we do and stuff like that, and who we're trying to target with this organization. So OCOL.tv, which is the website, OCOL.tv, and thank you for your time.